Hello, it's Eric here, and so this is my video, my series of videos on the dirty financial tricks. And then, so first of all, let me describe to you where I am at. And so I'm sitting at a beach, and then a tropical thunderstorm is brewing, and it's coming very, very fast. And it's probably not the safest place to be, sitting at the beach. But I'm a risk taker, just like anybody in finance, yeah. And yeah, so here we go. And so today we're going back to a previous video that I did on the principle of explosion, yeah. And so principle of explosion is basically a key, principle in philosophy. And then you may be wondering, what philosophy got to do with the finance? Well, you'll find out very soon, yeah. But first of all, let's go back to this principle of explosion, yeah. And then so we were saying that if you accept that the principle of explosion is true, then you can prove that anything is possible, yeah. And for example, I can prove that in that previous video I said I can prove that God is a woman, or I can prove that next year 2023 is going to be the end of the world and things like that, yeah. And so therefore, if you accept that the principle of explosion is true, then you can prove that anything is possible, yeah. When you say you can prove that anything is possible, that means basically you are saying that nothing is true or nothing is false, and then there's no right, there's no wrong, there just is, And I'll come back to this conclusion a little bit later, yeah. But let's go back to this principle of explosion, and then let's examine the key assumption in the principle of explosion, yeah. And so in the previous video, we were saying that the key assumption in deriving the principle of explosion is that you need to find a predicate that is both true and false at the same time, And then it turns out that there are many predicates in the world that you can find that you can show to be both true and false at the same time, And then so when you say a predicate is true and false at the same time, we usually call it a paradox, yeah. And apparently there are many paradoxes, in the world, yeah. And you can use it to use as a key assumption in order to derive the principle of explosion, yeah. I think in the previous video we used this particular predicate, this particular paradox, yeah. This sentence is false to show that this predicate is both true and false at the same time, and so therefore we can use it as a key assumption to derive the principle of explosion, yeah. And then I'm not going to go through this particular paradox again. And we have beaten this paradox to death, yeah. So I'm not going to go through that again. But I want to show you another paradox that is very, very common, very popular these days, yeah. It turns out that there are many paradoxes that you can use as a key assumption to derive the principle of explosion, yeah. And then the paradox that I just recently came across is called the omnipotence paradox, yeah. So the omnipotence paradox basically says that God is omnipotent, yeah. That means that God can do anything He wants, yeah. He can create anything He likes, yeah. And then it turns out that this predicate is both true and false at the same time, yeah. So if you say that God is omnipotent, then this predicate is both true and false at the same time. So therefore, God is omnipotent is actually a paradox, yeah. And to prove that God is omnipotent is a paradox. It's very easy, yeah. So let's start with God is omnipotent, yeah. And then so if you say God is omnipotent, that means that He can create something. He can create an object that is so heavy that even He cannot lift, yeah. And so therefore God is not omnipotent, yeah. And if you say God is not omnipotent, that means that He cannot create an object that is so heavy that even He cannot lift. Yeah, so therefore God is omnipotent. Yeah, if you say that God cannot create an object that is so heavy that even He cannot lift, then you're saying that God is omnipotent. Yeah, so that means we have come to the absurd conclusion that if you say God is omnipotent, then He's not omnipotent, and if you say God is not omnipotent, then He is omnipotent. Yeah, so therefore God is omnipotent is actually a paradox. Yeah. So now we can use this paradox as the key assumption to derive the principle of explosion, yeah. And then, so it turns out that, like I said, there are many paradoxes in the world that you can use, as a key assumption to derive the principle of explosion. Yeah. In future videos, we'll find more and more paradoxes to use as a key assumption to derive the principle of explosion. Yeah. But I just want to point out the fact that if you if you can derive the principle of explosion, yeah, using paradoxes like the omnipotence paradox, then basically you are saying that you can prove that anything is possible. Yeah. So another way to say anything is possible is just to say that basically there is nothing true, there is nothing false. There is nothing in the world that is inherently right. There is nothing in the world that is inherently wrong. Yeah, there is no right, there is no wrong. There just is. And it seems that that's the kind of maxim that most traders in finance use. Yeah, and including me. And so therefore, surprisingly, philosophical discussions can also be applicable in finance. Yeah. All right. I'll see you in another video. All right. See you. Bye.